Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel here on YouTube. Today we're going to have a go at this photograph you can see in front of me. Okay, it will be set into the video so you can see it as I paint along with it. It's just this abandoned cottage somewhere, I don't know where. I got the photograph off Pixabay, so you're free to have a go at painting it if you want to. I'm just going to keep it really simple. What I want to do is make the sky quite heavy, and then have the light hitting the cottage, the sunlight hitting the cottage, and then quite a light foreground. That's the idea anyway. I'll be simplifying the foreground a little bit because obviously it would take me hours to paint it if not, and it's just for a demonstration, this painting. So I hope you enjoy it. In a minute you'll see the drawing stage, which I've done at 2 times speed, and then the commentary starts after that. When I launch into the painting. So I hope you enjoy it, and yeah, good luck, and I hope you have a go at painting it too. Make it soft. So the colours I'm going to be using in the sky, very simple, is burnt sienna and cobalt blue mix. Okay, that's all I'm using, very straightforward. And I'm just that's with a little bit more burnt sienna in it, so it looks slightly warmer, just to vary it slightly. And you can just see as it's starting to touch the water now, I'm getting a nice soft edge along that line. And again, the same at the bottom, I'm getting a nice soft edge. Because what I'm going to be doing in a minute, when I've completed this wash, is to go back in with a much darker colour to create the heavy clouds. So this is just the base layer, and then I'll be, as it dries, I'll be going back in with a darker mix of burnt sienna and cobalt blue, and that will just sort of make the clouds build up, the depth capture. So just going over around the chimney. A little bit more water added there, just to soften it slightly. There we go. And I'm just painting down to the edge of the land, the hills, distant hills. Okay, so now that's dried a little bit, I'm just adding a darker mix of burnt sienna and cobalt blue, just to build up the clouds a little bit. Because it's that funny sort of day where you've got heavy clouds, but you've also got sunlight hitting the cottage. So you get that nice dark background, and then again the light hitting the cottage, which should make a good effect when we get around to painting that part of the painting. Still got to be a bit careful not to go over the building at this point, because I want the colours on the roof to be quite warm and fresh. I don't want to get any of that bluey, browny colour in it. Just mixing up, that's the burnt sienna and cobalt blue mix. It's quite thick at this point. If you add too much, if you sort of mix it with too much water, then add it into that wash, you'll get a horrible effect, and you'll be disappointed. You won't get the nice smooth build up of depth of colour. It will kind of star out, and yeah, it just won't work. So you've got to make sure you're adding the right amount of thick paint to the wash. So make your washes nice and thick. And if you're not sure, just practice it on a piece of paper before you commit to your painting. That's always the way to go. Don't commit to your painting if you're in any doubt. Because once you've done that, it's too late. So we've got that nice dark background going on here. and the actual cottage itself and the foreground is going to be bathed in sunshine where the light's coming in. It's going back, probably unnecessary at this point, but like everyone else I can't help but fiddle too. I wanted to put a few clouds right at the bottom of the painting, of the sky, sorry. So this painting is perfect if you've just got a limited set of colours, because all I'm going to be using is Windsor yellow, burnt sienna, cobalt blue, light red, and I think that's it. So it's just 4 colours. And by using a limited palette of colours, you also bring harmony to your painting. Because sometimes you can use too many colours and then your painting starts to look a little bit disjointed. So this is a lovely simple beginner's painting. It's a nice building to draw and to get building practice, drawing it that way. So if you're in the mood to have a go, give it a go. I just wanted to create the effect of like a bit of distant showery rain in the distance. I don't know if it worked, but when I looked at those clouds, I didn't like the way they're equally spaced. So in a minute what I'll do is I'll just soften them slightly so they're not so equally spaced like that. I find it a bit fidgety to look at. Just let them blend into each other a little bit. There we go. So I'm just softening it with a bit of clear water, just so you didn't get that feeling of those little 3 clouds being equally spaced. It might not have bothered people, but it just bothered me. Don't forget, if you enjoy my video, to give it a thumbs up, and if you've got any questions, I love reading your comments. Please leave them underneath the video. Right, we're going to start just adding a little bit of warm colour, a bit of burnt sienna to the chimney. I think there's a bit of burnt sienna and cadmium red there. I'm going to let that just flow into the roof. So it's all one wash. Just adding a little bit of yellow to that now. Because that part of the roof, that distant end, has got a bit of greenery on it. Sort of moss or something growing on it. So I'm just letting all these, mixing these colours on the page, let them all run into each other. That's a little bit of cobalt blue and light red. There's just a bit more blue on its own, just to get the varied colours that are in the tiles on the roof. And now for the wall, what I'm using mostly is Windsor yellow, a touch of light red with a touch of cobalt blue in it. So I get like a browny yellow. And then I just add more different colours to that, a bit more blue or a bit more red, just to vary it. little bit of red there just to grey it out slightly so it's not too blue. When I was painting this, I was imagining that somebody must have lived in there once upon a time, I guess. A lovely place to live. The roof is kind of a reddish colour. I'm not sure if that's... I guess it's just the colour. Somebody's painted it red, I think. Or it's the rust, I'm not sure. So that's just a little bit of cadmium red and a little bit of Windsor yellow. And I just add the same to that mix of Windsor yellow, cadmium red. I've just added some blue, and you get a nice sort of a warm stone colour. There's a bit more blue at the bottom, just to vary it. There's quite a lot of shifting and playing around with colours here. I wanted to make sure I didn't keep the colour the same throughout the building, because when you look closely at the picture you can see there are subtle changes in the colour. And don't forget, we don't have to slavishly follow the photograph. As artists, we can decide to do whatever we like. You know, we can change it around and add different colours if you want to. I've kind of followed the picture, the photograph, closely. Not exactly, but closely, for your benefit, really, for those people that are learning, so they can see how that's done. But it really is a good beginner's painting. Good beginner's exercise. So we can just let the front of that building dry now. I just find mixing colours in watercolour can take such a long time just to get that right shade of colour that you want, the right tone of colour. It's worth spending your time getting it right, as right as you think it is anyway, than rushing it. I'm always very keen when I'm painting to actually move on to the next stage where you start putting in the shadows and the darks. That's the stage of the part of a painting I enjoy doing the most. So I've just started to drop in under wash for the distant hill, and I just added some some cadmium red, and cobalt blue, just to make a sort of a warmy, purpley, bluey colour. Don't know what colour you call it. And now I'm just adding some warmer colours to it, some green to it here to fade it in gently, and I'll gradually work that down, right the way down the painting to the bottom. So that is just... Oh, there is another colour I'm using. Sorry, sap green. I'm sure it's sap green. This set of Cotman paints I'm using, for anybody who's interested, Winsor & Newton Cotman paints, they came with the colours preloaded, and I'm sure it's sap green that's in there. So there's 5 colours, but I could have just easily have mixed yellow and blue together to make green, and then warmed up or cooled it down with a bit of red and blue, whatever. So I wanted the colours right at the front of the painting quite light. I didn't want to go too dark and heavy. I wanted to have that real sunny feeling. That part of the house was being hit by sunlight and was in the sun. And we get that feeling because obviously the clouds are dark. It's quite exciting, really, because it makes it a little bit more dramatic. I've got to be careful painting around the little rocks. This is obviously some kind of stone wall that's fallen down here, and I've got to be careful painting around those. And just adding colours wet into wet here, just letting them run in. Again, keep changing your colours, don't keep them all the same all the way down. It just gets boring to look at, add different colours in. That's the way I do it anyway. Okay, you can see I've worked my way across, and as I go down to the foreground, I'm just painting with the brush on its side and adding more texture to the foreground just by scrubbing away, really. I'm not trying to paint every blade of grass. I'm just literally mixing the colours up a bit and just letting them run into each other. That's what will be more rocks there in the foreground. Now we're starting to do the bit I enjoy most, and that's add all the shadows. And for that I'm just using a darker mix of burnt sienna and cobalt blue. And the minute you start adding those darks, the painting does come to life, I think. It starts to liven up. Now we've got to work our way along under the eaves of the house, where that roof is slipping off slightly. And we've got to make a nice shadow there. For you of those that don't know, I've probably talked about it before. I'm using a Chinese brush. It's a goat hair brush I got off Amazon, and it's been one of the best brushes I've ever had. It's such a versatile brush for painting. It's great for getting textures, but it's also good for this type of work and painting in small areas. Really good brush, and it's really hard wearing. And I think it cost about £5, £6 off Amazon. It doesn't lose its hair or anything like that, doesn't all fall out. It's good brush. So this is where the roof has collapsed, and I'm just sort of filling in that area with the same colour paint that I've painted shadows with. Just block that in. And again on the side of the porch, I'm using the same colour, burnt sienna and cobalt blue mixed. Just for that little shadow. With hindsight, I like that shadow to have been a bit warmer. Looking at it now, it's been on the cold side. I'd like a bit more warmth in it, but it's okay. Now this is the kind of some blocked up window here, and it's just cast where the lintel is. It's just casting a shadow. Now I'm just painting in the distant hill, which is quite dark, as you can see in the picture. And for that, I'm just using burnt sienna, cobalt blue, a little bit of yellow, and a mix of cobalt blue and cadmium red to get a purpley blue. I'm just adding some different colours here to the middle ground, just so it's not such a hard line between the hill and the foreground. What I wish I had done, and here's something that, when I look at it now, where the greenery is in front of the cottage, I wish I'd softened that in places. It's a bit hard. It looks a bit sort of like cut out. It looks like it's been stuck on in front of the cottage. It would be much better to have just blended some of that into the wet wash on the wall in places, just to soften it. But what I'll do in a little while is I'll lift some colour. What I do in a minute, is lift some colour out and soften it that way afterwards. And anyway, just indicating some of the stones that are on the wall. I'm not going to try and paint them all. It's just to let people know, well, it's obviously a stone wall, and just indicating a few. And then I'm just softening the edges on some of them. Just get some colours ready. That's actually, so about 6 colours I've used. I've used cadmium orange as well. So the 6 colours I've used is cobalt blue, burnt sienna, sap green, cadmium red, and cadmium orange. Well, that's 5. So it's not, it's only a few colours really. If you haven't got those colours in your box, it doesn't matter. You can use whatever, just use something similar. Just building a little bit of texture up and detail on the rocks now. And it's quite a slow, laborious part of painting that. So again, I'm changing the colour. If you look at them closely in the picture, a lot of them are different colours. They're not all the same colour. So you don't just assume they're rocks. So well, they're all the same colour as the first one you paint, because they're not. Just starting to pull out some of the grasses that are growing, just to indicate some of them. I won't be going mad. I'm just going to kind of indicate a few of them. I didn't want it too green in the foreground, so I changed it around a bit and added more sort of yellows. And again, as I said earlier, that's the beauty of painting. You don't have to be stuck, copy the paint of the reference image sort of 100%. There we go, you can see. So I kind of just used the brush on its side and created those textures, those grasses. Pretty straightforward. Now I'm adding the final sort of the algae and the moss that's on the rocks, just indicating some of that on the rocks that are closest to me. And now just softening some of the edges. Obviously, I could spend an awful lot longer doing this part of the painting, but this is an exercise, so it's just for demonstration purposes, really. And we can just see by adding the textures, you start to build up, get a better idea that they're rocks. Just adding the darker greens now, just here and there. You don't want to be going too mad in the foreground and trying to do too much, because I think often less is more. The more you sit there trying to paint in everything you see, then your painting can end up looking just too busy. So it's much better just to look at your painting and think, well, which ones are important, what creates the most harmony in the work and the balance. So that's what I've tried to do. I'm not saying it's always right. In this case, that's what I did today. Now we're very close to finishing now. Just the last little bits. But when I look at the painting, I was quite pleased with it, really. It got the feeling I wanted of the picture, of the photograph. Go at completing the painting and you want to share it with me, you can always let me see what you've done. If you come to my Facebook page, which is Pure Water Patrick Lee Greaves, at Pure Watercolour. So if you just search Pure Watercolour on Facebook, you'll find me, and you can upload your picture there, and I'd love to see it if you decide to have a go. So we're coming to the end now. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to ask. And don't forget, if you actually do yours, search me on Facebook. In fact, what I could do is I'll leave a link under the video. And if you do a picture, you can post it on my Facebook page. So I hope you enjoyed it. And don't forget to like and subscribe and turn your notifications on so you'll be alerted every time I put a video on. Thanks ever so much for watching, and bye for now.